The epic conundrum that is Legions Imperialis. G'day and welcome to Wellywood Wargaming. My name is Damon and this video I'll be talking about Legions Imperialis, Games Workshop's new attempt at epic. Now, before I get into it, please do like, share, subscribe, check out the Patreon as well to keep me doing what I love doing. Now, Legions Imperialis is the new sort of specialist games box set that Games Workshop has released. And I think it is the newest and shiniest of all the box sets out. And there has been quite a lot of talk and hubbub about this box set leading up to it. A lot of excitement before it got released. It got released, and I think a lot of people have been a little bit confused or, upset about the game and stuff. And really, I'm finding a lot of the information out there in the community is very, very mixed. Some people love it, some people hate it, but it's super, super divided. Now, Epic 40k. Back in the 90s, we had Space Marine and we had, what's the other one, Armageddon, were an epic scale way of playing 40k. Now, lots and lots and lots and lots of people play 40k. It is Games Workshop's absolute most, popular game system. But a lot of people don't have massive, massive armies because, frankly, they can't really afford them. So what Epic did was it created a way to have massive armies and massive battles by using much smaller miniatures. Now, when this game was sort of like previewed at the tail end of last year and early this year, I think a lot of people initially thought, yay, a new Epic's coming out. Of course, that isn't the case, as Games Workshop quickly told us that this is Epic 30k, to want for a better word. Now, 30k, for those that aren't familiar, is the time of the Horus Heresy. Essentially, there are no Xenos in this game whatsoever. There are no Eldari, there are no Necrons, Taus, Tyranids, Orcs, nothing. It is purely Imperial and Traitor Imperial. So, yeah, first you've got to think about that. So that is a huge, huge thing, and I think a lot of people have been very, very disappointed on that front. First off, let's talk about the fact that this game is clearly very popular. Regardless of everything that I'm going to say, this game is clearly very popular, and it has been sold out since it came out. Now, I've just checked on the Games Workshop website here in Australia. It is still sold out at the moment. So clearly, the box set for Legions Imperialis has sold well. Now, whether that's down to the fact that it's incredibly popular or it's down to the fact that they didn't make enough of them, I'm not sure. It could be somewhere in the middle. It could be one of either. But who's buying it exactly? That's what I want to know. Is it new players that are buying it? Are you new to the hobby, and did Legions Imperialis, make you take the plunge? Or are you one of the old guard Epic players who really, really does want to continue playing Epic, but in a Horus Heresy setting? I'm really not sure. I'd like to know, though. The next thing to talk about is the price, of course. Now, the price is a whopping 335 Australian dollars here. I just went and checked on the website today. It is still sold out, but it's $335. I cannot imagine that there are many people in the community here that can afford a $335 box set. Granted, there have been box sets from Games Workshop that have been even more expensive, but to me, that is the most unappealing thing about this, is just the $335 Australian cost. I don't know how much it costs in the UK or in America. It's usually a fair bit cheaper, but there you go. $335 is, for most people, for the average sort of person, that's probably a third of your wages for the week or something. So yeah, it's a lot. It's like, do you buy that or do you pay the rent? It's one of those. Personally, I think I'd rather pay the rent because I'm a bit more sensible, but I know people that aren't. Now, this is the big elephant in the room, the no Xenos thing, right? It is Imperial only. Let's talk about why that is. So I think Games Workshop have opted to make this 30k and Horus Heresy based purely because it's a little bit of a gamble whether this is going to be particularly successful or not. I think it's already proving that it might not be long-term. However, I also think that it's probably quite sensible doing it in 30k because the amount of new SKUs or products that you would need in a Games Workshop store would be massive if you were to do Necrons, Eldar, Tyranids, Tau, Orcs, Dark Eldar, all of the other shit, right? If you're going to do all that, you're going to need a massive amount of new products to make. those miniatures don't exist already. It's not like Old World where you can actually just draw the miniatures back from the dead, for those sort of like basic regiments and stuff. That kind of works, but you can't really do that here because the scale is slightly different. The scale of these miniatures are larger than the scale of old Epic and Armageddon, and to be honest, those models are really, really dated and just don't look very good anymore. These are slightly larger, like I just mentioned. I think they're 10mm now to 8mm, which was the last scale. Now, you could, of course, still use these miniatures as proxy for old Epic Armageddon games and whatnot. I'm pretty sure that there is still a thriving and healthy Epic community out there. In fact, I know there is, because I know plenty of people that still play Epic and probably still will continue to after this game comes out, because it is a different game to Epic. Now, in terms of the looks of the miniatures, I have to say I'm a bit torn. I do like some of the tanks and some of the dreadnoughts and things like that. The bigger stuff looks better because the scale's bigger, so they're able to add more detail. However, some of the infantry frankly looks terrible. There are really weird blocky sort of join bits on it. And I get it, like when you're making miniatures at a really, really small scale, you have to make allowances for the quality in the details. But that said, I think Epic has always been and will always be a gamer's game. It is not a hobbyist or painter's game. I really do believe that, because you just can't, if you're a really good painter and you want to demonstrate your skills, you're not going to do it on a 10mm diddy tiny little Space Marine. You're going to do it on a big piece, and you're certainly not going to win Golden Demon with an Epic or a Legions Imperialis army or figure, I don't think. These armies look great, like a Blood Angels army or an Emperor's Children army, from a distance is going to look awesome, but as soon as you pick up these miniatures and look at them close up, they are going to look dog shite, just like they do, unfortunately, on the Games Workshop website. No offense to the army painters at Games Workshop, but come on, they look dreadful, especially when you're using Citadel contrast paints on these tiny little guys. They just look really bad. Right then, let's have a look at the box. So the box for Legions Imperialis, like I said, 335 Australian dollars, and this is what you get in it. Now you get two roughly 900 point armies. So I wouldn't say, in fact, I wouldn't even be comfortable using the term army for 900 points. It's like a little bit of a skirmishy force, okay? You get some Space Marines, some Astartes, and you get some Solar Auxilia or Imperial Guard back in the day. And you get 900 points of each, roughly. And frankly, that's just not enough to really play an epic scale version of 40k or 30k. So the suggested points value for an army really to be played at its absolute best bite point is 3,000 points. You buy a box set of this and you get a 900 point Astartes army, but you want to get more, you're going to have to go out there and buy loads more box sets to make it up to 3,000 points. And of course, you don't have to play at 3,000 points. You can play at 900 points, but I just don't think you're going to get the same desired experience. The game developers themselves have said that 3,000 points is the optimal sort of amount of an army. That's how big an army should be 3,000 points. That's what they're saying, so that's what you're going to go for. In this box set, you don't get that. You get two 900 points forces, and that's a bit disappointing, you have to say. So, you also get the classic templates, which is awesome. I love the classic templates. We've got a smaller blast, 3-inch blast, I believe, a 5-inch blast template, and the classic flamer template as well. All three of those you get in Necromunda, by the way, which I talk about a lot in my channel. You also get and I love this as well, the 90s whippy sticks are back. So I believe these came with Necromunda back in the day, along with a couple of other games, but the red range ruler whippy sticks, we used to call them. Fond memories of being chased around the store by the Games Workshop staff in Cambridge with the whippy sticks. It's probably questionable whether it was emotional and physical abuse back then, but I used to get my knuckles whipped by the Games Workshop staff just for laughs, really. It is what it is. Now, tokens, you get tokens in the box set as well. However, many people are saying that these tokens are a little bit flimsy and made of pretty much paper. They're not really thick, robust cardboard tokens like you get in a lot of other boxes. It's a bit of a shame when you're paying $335 for a box, eh? Now, the rule book itself is nice. It's an interesting one, I have to say. We're going to get into the rules in a second, though. But yeah, you've got all your nice lore in there. If you want to find out about the Horus Heresy in a sort of bite-sized chunk, you can read all about the Horus Heresy in there, the setting and stuff. It's fun, it's cool, but most people know that already. I have to say, though, the actual book is a little bit bland looking. It certainly reads like a sort of like academic textbook. There aren't many pictures. There are a few illustrations. There aren't many actual color pictures in it until you get to the end of the book, which is a bit of a shame. It feels like they're an afterthought almost. But yeah, sadly, the rule book isn't particularly well presented next to some of the other rule books that I know and love very well, like Necromunda. One of the biggest Debbie Downers we've got here, though, is the fact that this box comes with absolutely no terrain or scenery, no buildings, nothing like that. And that is a real problem, because not only do Games Workshop not really make much scenery in this scale, if anything, you're going to have to go out there and 3D print some, or make some, or do the whole Blue Peter sticky back plastic vibes, and just use like shampoo containers and whatnot. It's a bit of a shame. It's quite hard to obtain lots of scenery on a table and fill it out. If you're using a 3x3, 4x4, or even bigger table to play this on, you're gonna need some scenery, and you don't get any in this box, which is a real shame. I mean, shit, even in the scant scenery that you get in the Warcry box, the new starter set, at least you get something, right? Just something to move around. You get nothing in this, and I think that's a real problem. The rules are kind of a weird hybrid between like old Epic, like they're trying to draw from old Epic, also Horus Heresy, as well as a bunch of other stuff. Like, they're okay looking. I've read through the rulebook and they're okay looking, but there's nothing that really stands out as a really unique, interesting mechanic next to any of the other game systems that Games Workshop make. There's nothing particularly new or exciting here. It's stuff that I've seen before. Space Marines, for example, they're not hugely better than the the humans in close combat and stuff as well. And also, one of my biggest problems is, if you want to play Space Marines, you've got 18 chapters to choose from, right? In the Horus Heresy anyway. You've got 9 loyalists and you've got 9 traitors. And each of them have their own special rules. If you want to play Emperor's Children, they have a special rule. If you want to play, Word Bearers, they have their own sort of special chapter rule. Some of these are really, really, really powerful, and some of them are absolute dog shit, and you just never would use them. So clearly this game is not very well balanced, and that's not a problem necessarily if you're playing it from a narrative sort of perspective. It just does mean that, for sort of tournament play and stuff, it just makes things like you're just never going to take some of those factions, which is a real shame. If you really particularly love one Space Marine chapter, you're probably much less likely to play it because the rules are just not very good for them. So that's a problem as well. The next thing I want to talk about is the folding in and dissolving of Aeronautica Imperialis and Adeptus Titanicus. Now, these two games were pretty niche, I have to say. They still are pretty niche, and you can certainly still play Aeronautica and Adeptus Titanicus, and I do. Aeronautica Imperialis, I think, is one of the best rule sets that Games Workshop has ever released. I say that, I fully mean it. It is excellent. Me and my son are playing at the moment. He's 9 years old. He loves it. And he's getting really tactically sound with it. We're going to be playing campaign soon. I might even film it, actually. But Aeronautica Imperialis and Adeptus Titanicus are both fantastic games with unique mechanics, excellent miniatures, cool lore. Sadly, they've been folded into Legions Imperialis, and it is a different game. So, sure, you can still use the Imperial planes, the Imperial Navy and Astartes planes from Aeronautica in this game, but it's just not the same game. So, and you've deleted Eldar, you've deleted Necrons, you've deleted all these factions that made Aeronautica really awesome and fun to play. Sure, you can still play Aeronautica, you can still play Adeptus Titanicus, but you can't really get the miniatures for a lot of them anymore, unfortunately. And they're just better games, quite frankly, than what I've gathered from Legions Imperialis so far. I just think those two games, Aeronautica and Adeptus Titanicus, had... Sure, I know that they weren't that successful as games, and they were pretty niche, so not enough people played them, but the rule sets are just better, quite frankly. So, in summary, Legions Imperialis, those are some of my thoughts on it, my concerns. I haven't bought the box set because it's 335 Australian dollars. That's the main reason why. The other reason why is my son was looking at it and he was saying, look, why don't we get that? It's got tanks in it and stuff. And I'm like, that's cool, but I want to play Eldar, I want to play other stuff, and I can't do that. So I'm not going to get this for the price point. I'm not going to get it for the omission of Zenos, and I'm not going to get it because of my stubborn and pissed off attitude because of Aeronautica Imperialis not being part of it anymore, or part of Games Workshop's range anymore. That really does annoy me. I do think, though, that you're better off just playing Horus Heresy, which is a really good game, and it has really, really awesome miniatures. There is already Horus Heresy in its full scale. You could play this in the mini scale, but like I said, you're going to need to splash a lot of cash to get a full 3,000 point army and actually play it how it's supposed to be played. So there you go. Those are some of my thoughts on Legions Imperialis. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, because I know some of this comes across as pretty negative and a bit ranty, but that's fine. I just it's been on my mind for a little while, and I thought I'd just make a video to really express how I feel about Legions Imperialis. I could be wrong on all of this. It could be the best game that Games Workshop's ever released, and I could be completely out of my mind wrong on it. Maybe it is. Tell me, please let me know what you think about it. Tell me I'm wrong. I'd like to think I was, but sadly I don't think I am, and I don't think it will necessarily last a huge amount of time if they're not going to expand it into the Xenos sort of factions and whatnot. Anyway, I'm going around in circles and stuff, so I will check you in the next video. Peace out.